Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a knife review for you today. Today I'm going to be talking about the Walmart knives. These are the most popular of their designs. Some of them are $3, some of them are $1, and some of them are $8. This is just the knife selection that they have. They have a couple other $3 knives, but they aren't as popular as these designs. So these are the ones I'm going to be talking about today. So let's get started. The first one is the Camo Clip Knife. It's a small folding frame lock knife that I have grown to like. And I have carried all these knives some. Part of my EDC. I'm going to have a new month EDC video coming up soon. But this is just, I have carried all these knives, at least for a couple days, carrying them on and off. None of them are of that high quality, but they are good for cheap knives, or beater knives, if you want to use them as that. That's what I use them for, just cutting things like tape and such. They're not, it has, just all of these knives are made out of 440 steel, so none of them are they won't stay sharp for very long, they don't hold up the best, but they all are good knives. I would recommend them if you're looking for a first knife or a beater knife, but just know that you get what you pay for, and a $3 knife is gonna act like a $3 knife. It's not gonna be anything incredible, but some of them have surprised me. Some of them are pretty good, and I'm hoping to be ranking in this video as well. So, as I showed you, the Camo Clip Knife is the first one. This is a fairly small knife. It's light. It's all stainless steel with a nice camo pattern on it. It's got a thumb stud, a liner lock, or frame lock, excuse me. This is a great knife. It's smaller than most of the other ones. I'll do a comparison in just a moment, but it's probably the smallest in the line, but it has a good look to it, and it seems to be holding up well for a $3 knife. So, Camo Clip Knife. The second one, this is the one that's probably the least popular out of these ones that I am showing. It is their $8 knife. Now you might have seen this. It's not one of the insanely cheap ones, like the $3 ones, or even their $1 knife. This is the most expensive, but it, in my opinion, is certainly not the best in quality. I've had this knife the longest out of all of them, and it feels really great in your hand. It does a good job cutting, but the liner lock on this is very weak. It won't hold up whatsoever. It's a very smooth knife, but this liner lock is one of the worst I've ever seen, honestly. It won't lock in place most of the time. You really have to flick it out hard for it to lock in at least a little bit. But it's got wood scales. I would not recommend this knife, and I would recommend most of the knives for cheap starter knives, or just for a beater knife, but I would not recommend this one. It's more expensive, and it's not worth the money whatsoever. Just save up a little more, save up 40 bucks, save up 50, just get a better knife, get a Tenacious, get a Rat, something of higher quality than this. Next you have another wood knife, but this is their $3 version of the wood knife, and this is called the Wood Clip Knife. I'm actually a big fan of this knife. All the liners are jimped. Yeah, it comes out easily. It's got a nice blade on it. Scandinavian ground. Lots of jimping everywhere. Now I thought this would be more aggressive in my hand, but since I've gotten to use it, I like it a lot. I think it's really a good knife. I would recommend it. And the clip point blade is it's a great blade. It's cutting, and then with the grind on it, I would definitely recommend the Wood Clip Knife. Next I have the titanium coated clip knife, or the blue and black clipper. This is, and you can tell there's a fair amount of wear on this blade. I've used this knife the most out of any of these knives by far, because this is my box opener. This is my beater knife that I've started carrying. I only use it for really cutting tape and for cardboard if I don't want to grime up one of my more expensive knives. It's got a flipper on it, and there's only one other knife, the tan flipper over there, that has the flipper. other than this knife. The flippers are, they're good. I rather them than the thumb studs. You can deploy it with the thumb stud without moving your hand at all. With the flipper, you can't really, it's just a little too stiff. Whoa, almost got it there. You can get it to go to about here, like I did just a second ago, but you can't ever get it to lock out all the way. At least I have not been able to yet. But still, it's a great knife. The clip on it, I didn't mention the clip with these. All the clips are sturdy, they hold up well. This one is a black clip, and I like the look of it a fair amount. It's got a really flashy handle design with the Tanto point, half serrated. It's a good knife, I would recommend it. It's good for a beater knife. Next, let's start up here. This is their cheapest knife they offer. This is $2 to $1, it depends where you go, but it is a very cheap knife. And you could probably tell by looking at it, this is not the best of their knives. It's just got a very cheap plastic handle. Nothing good about it. It's got a back lock. They only have 2 knives with a back lock. It's got a thumb stud. It's hardly able to be opened unless you really work on the knife to get it so you can open it fast, but that's really as fast as you can open it. It's got, you know, slight jimping, but it really does nothing. It's just on their cheap plastic. It does have a decent blade. I've actually used one of these knives, taking it apart and used the blade for another knife, but it's not very useful since the majority of the blade is serrations, although you do have a good tip on it. But since hardly any of it's fine edge, it's not, I don't use this knife. I did have to test it. I did carry it to test it, and the back lock was very stiff too. Just very hard to use. Puck clip on it. It can hold up. The problem is this is the same screw that it's all connected, and this I didn't know until I actually took apart one of these knives. Unlike the other knives, this screw, it holds in the puck clip right here. It goes all the way through. It might not look like the same screw, but it is all one piece. And if it starts to unscrew in one place, if the puck clip falls off, you won't take the puck clip off, this whole knife will collapse. So don't ever try to do that unless you want to take apart the knife. Next we have the rail clip knife. This is another one of their knives that I actually like. It's a really interesting design, especially the handle scales. Let's get it in focus. There we go. So it's a really great design. The handle scales on it are a really cool design. It's got a thumb ramp, but no jimping. If you're wondering why it's called the rail clip knife, it's just the liners. The liners will come out a little bit on the edge, on the back, and you can see it looks like a rail. I guess is what they're trying to say. This is if you had to choose a knife for self-defense, this would be the one that I would choose. Of course, I would really never recommend using a knife as a weapon, but they can be used like that if you need to, or in a self-defense situation. This would be the knife I would choose out of these, just because it's the best point. It also has a liner lock. All these knives, except for the cheap knife, have a liner lock. Last we have the Tan Flipper. Now this is supposedly the best knife that they have to offer. Now this was a bold claim. I've heard this off on YouTube and on review sites that this is the best Walmart knife there was, and I would probably agree. The Tan Flipper is a really good knife. I would pay around $20 for this, which of course still isn't very expensive, but compared to any of the other knives, and for being in such a cheap steel, I would. It's got a sandblasted finish on the blade. It's got jimping, it's got a thumb ramp, ambidextrous thumb studs, flipper. I do have a couple concerns with this knife, but overall, it's my favorite in line. It's a close second to some of the other knives, like the rail clip knife and the titanium coated clip knife. But the tan flipper is a really good option if you want to get a cheap knife just to get you started. I would definitely recommend getting a tan flipper. I do have a couple concerns. The liners on this, here, I'll get this to focus. The liners, or the frame, come on, focus. Oh, my camera doesn't want to cooperate today. So anyway, the frames on this, I can go back a little further, are very thin. It's super thin. And it is a G10, there we go, G10-like material. But it is one of the thinnest I've ever seen, certainly the thinnest on a Walmart knife. I haven't had any concerns of it yet, but just because it's so thin, it could snap, it could break. It's not very much padding. The other concern I have is on the top of the liner lock. It's a very sharp edge. It's almost, it feels like it's been sharpened right at the very top of the liner. It's a very sharp edge, and you can feel it when you put your finger there. I just train myself to go lower whenever I'm depressing the lock, close it. But if you're used to going high on a liner lock, it can cut you, so be careful of that. But this is a smooth knife. It also can be deployed pretty easily. So tan flipper, definitely my favorite out of these knives. So if you're wondering about getting a Walmart knife, I would recommend them, yes, certain ones. I wouldn't go say buy every Walmart knife there is just to test them. I did this for purposes of recommending them to people like you guys, and I think that some of these knives are good. Some of them, it's just not worth the money, especially for a really cheap price. So I would recommend, if you're looking for a beater knife or just a knife to get you started until you know that you want to spend more money on a knife, I would recommend getting like a knife like the tan flipper, trying it out, see if you like it, and then upgrade to a better knife. But thanks for watching this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it. If you have any questions, please leave it below in the comment section. If you like my videos, make sure to subscribe, and see you guys. Bye.